Why do I support the DiEM movement? Because I think it's the right step in the right direction at this moment. And this moment is the situation in Europe after the defeat, historical defeat, even if they are still in power, of the Syriza government in Greece. I don't blame them. Their situation was without perspective, hopeless from the beginning. But sometimes, even if you rationally know that the situation is hopeless, you have to experience it. The lesson was a very important one of the defeat of Syriza. The lesson was the crucial step forward. The way to undermine global capitalism cannot be done at the level of nation states. There is a great temptation now all around Europe, a kind of a neo-Keynesian social democratic nationalist temptation. The idea is, since we live in a global market, and this means international relations are dominated by the logic of capital, the only hope is to return to a stronger nation state. With all this implies a certain level of nationalism, populism, and to establish again strong independent states which can impose their own laws, regulate their own financial policy, and so on and so on. That illusion has to be abandoned, I claim. And this is why I think that what DiEM is doing is something strictly linked to the failure of Syriza as the second step. The lesson of the, again, failure of Syriza was we cannot do it alone in one country. If the enemy is neoliberal Europe, our act has also to be a pan-European act. That's the first thing why I fully support DiEM. Second thing, the second temptation is the usual radical leftist temptation, waiting for the big revolution, for some big event. And this means usually doing nothing concrete, but just making predictions, writing fat books, and so on and so on. No, I think our only hope today is to engage in very concrete, specific acts. But we have to choose very well this concrete act, concrete demand. And I think this choice is excellent. The demand is to democratize the economic politics of European Union, to make it accountable to democracy, to popular will, and so on and so on. Why I like this choice? Because it may appear that this is nothing special. Of course, we live in a democracy, why not democratize this? But you know, as we know, from concrete dialectical analysis, often in a certain field, everything is possible. We can do this, we can do that. But nonetheless, if you look on it closely, in order for the system to function, some specific points should precisely function as an exception to the general rule. We live in a democracy, but the democracy in which we live presupposes that this specific field of economic decisions and so on is exempted from democracy. In other words, the way I see the initiative for DiEM is something that we usually find in good old science fiction paranoiac films, which work like this. Somebody enters a room and everything seems normal in a room, then you do something which was simply not taken into account by the system. There is a series of buttons. You push the wrong button and everything goes wrong. Walls start to fall apart and so on and so on. That's the art, to demand something relatively modest. Nobody can be opposed to it. But if you follow to the end this demand everything will begin to fall apart, all bad things, okay? Of course. I mean, you open up the path towards general rearrangement of social relations. In different societies, these points are different. For example, in United States, even Barack Obama's very modest idea about universal health care almost caused a reactionary counter-revolution. In Europe, this is the thing on which we should insist now. We just need the iron will to pursue this very specific demand to the end. No big revolutionary talk and so on and so on. Just be faithful to this particular demand and things will begin to happen.